The most powerful platforms, they rarely start with some grand master plan. They kind of evolve. And today, we're going to dig into a real world story just like that. It's about how one internal developer platform went from total chaos to crystal clarity, all built on Azure. We're going to look at their journey, the bumps in the road, and the key lessons they picked up. And yep, this is pretty much where it all kicks off. I mean, how many of us have been here, right? It's not some big strategic design. It's that familiar chaos of we need to get this done like now. One credit card, one subscription. It's that classic starting point where every developer and every project is just kind of thrown into the same pot. So this first phase, man, it was the definition of the Wild West. Seriously, you had one subscription for everybody. Every project, every environment, all jammed in there together. Resources were just spun up on the fly, ad hoc. Standards? No, didn't exist. And the amount of friction this created for developers was just huge. I mean, it worked, kind of, but it was a really messy, totally unscalable way to build anything serious. Okay, so to get out of that mess, the team knew they had to bring in some order. And this wasn't about shipping cool new features, not at all. This was about going back to basics and building a solid foundation from the ground up. The very first step, they had to ditch that single shared subscription and start thinking about real structure and governance. So how'd they do it? Well, they built out this really clear hierarchy. Right at the top, you've got Azure tenants, which handle all the identity stuff. Then, sitting below that, they use management groups to organize subscriptions for different departments or maybe different environments, like dev and prod. This approach created a super scalable strategy. Now, when a new team came on board, they got their own clean, managed subscription. And just like that, the shared chaos was over. And that brings us to maybe the most important concept in their whole strategy, landing zones. The analogy here is just perfect, right? Think about it. Instead of just giving a developer an empty plot of land and saying, good luck, you give them a plot where the foundation's already poured, the utilities are all hooked up, and the security fences are in place. That's a landing zone. It means every single new project gets to start from a baseline that's already secure, already compliant, and already connected to the network. It's all done for them, automatically, from day one. Okay, so the foundation is stable. That's huge. But now comes the next big challenge, speed. How do you help your developers move faster without, breaking all the new rules you just put in place? Well, the answer was to pave the way for them, to create these really clear, supported routes to get their code into production. And this is where the idea of golden paths comes in. And it's such a great concept. A lot of people hear this and think it's about restricting developers, but it's the exact opposite. It's all about empowering them. By giving them this well-lit, paved superhighway for, say, 80% of their most common tasks, like deploying a simple web app, you're freeing them up from having to worry about all the underlying complexity. They can just, focus on writing code. So what does one of these golden paths actually look like in practice? Well, it looks a lot like this, a fully automated CI/CD pipeline. Every single step here is automatic. A developer commits their code, boom, that triggers a build and a test sequence. Then it gets scanned for any security issues before it's deployed to staging. And after it passes a totally automated approval gate, it gets pushed to production. This whole flow replaced what used to be a manual, super error-prone checklist with something that's reliable, repeatable, and most importantly, fast. All right, so now things are stable and they're fast. What's next? Well, the focus had to shift to making the entire platform resilient. I mean, think about it. You've got dozens of teams deploying applications all the time. At that scale, you absolutely have to have rock-solid security and really deep insight into the health of the entire system. And that meant baking these critical, non-functional requirements right into the platform itself. So they set up centralized logging and observability, which gave them that single pane of glass to see everything that's going on. They also brought in proactive security policies to catch and prevent misconfigurations before they even happen. And finally, automated compliance checks made sure every single resource that got deployed met the company's strict standards right from the moment it was created. And the result of all that automation? It's pretty powerful. By turning all those security and compliance rules into code, by building them into the platform itself, they hit 99% policy compliance. And that's across thousands and thousands of resources. Let's be real. That is just not something you can do with manual reviews. It absolutely requires an automated platform-first way of thinking. So this really brings us to the peak, the summit of their journey. They've got governance, they've got speed, they've got security, all that's in place. The final piece of the puzzle, the last big optimization, was for their most important customer, the developer. The whole goal now was to create this totally seamless, self-service experience that just felt intuitive and honestly empowering. And look, this whole transformation did not happen overnight, not even close. The first year was really all about taming that initial chaos and just getting some control. Year 2, that was all about building out those golden path highways to speed everything up. And it wasn't until the 3rd year that they really truly reached that summit and had a mature, self-service platform to show for it. And if you ever wonder why they went through all this effort, this slide says it all. I mean, look at this. Before the platform, if you are a developer and you needed a database, you had to file a ticket and then just wait for 3 days. After the platform, you click a button in a portal and you get your database in 5 minutes. It's just a night and day difference. The platform totally transformed the developer experience from, waiting and frustration to one of pure speed and empowerment. Okay, so what are the big takeaways here? What can we all learn from this journey? Let's try to boil down the most important lessons from this whole evolution that you might be able to apply to your own strategy. So there are a few really core lessons here. First, and this is a big one, start with governance. Don't treat it like an afterthought. It has to be the foundation you build everything else on. Second, think of your golden paths as a product that you're building for your developers, not just some one-off project that's going to get stale. It needs care and feeding. Third, and this is so important, remember that great platform engineering is really all about empathy for developers. It's about making their lives easier. And finally, getting this right on a single cloud, really mastering it, gives you all the patterns and the confidence you need to build a successful multi-cloud strategy down the road. Every organization's platform is on some kind of journey, right? It has its own unique story of how it's evolving. And when you look at this story, this journey from pure chaos to real clarity, it really makes you think. And it kind of begs a question for all of us. What's the next chapter for your platform going to be?